Today's topic is something that we have touched on briefly in the past, but I thought it was worth dedicating a whole episode to it. And that is the power of tinking. I see the confusion on your face, Jim. It is the word knit backwards. That's right. We're talking about the power of
Oh,
undoing stuff.
Light from Lantern presents Knit a Spell. I'm Magical Maker, Katie Rempe.
and I'm the maker of magic, James Devine.
Join us as we stitch together the symbiotic relationship between crafting
And the craft.
I would have never guessed that's what tink was.
In the knitting
Tink.
community, if you have to undo your work, what are you doing? You're unknitting. So there
Sometimes
you
I
go.
feel like I just want to rip it out and do it again. And you're the one that said, keep it. It's fine. You need records of your first time knitting.
Yeah, to see how far you've come. Ripping out is good, but also it's not always necessary. And there's many ways to remove a thing and reasons to do it.
I'm excited to flip the idea of undoing something. That sounds like a blast.
I wanted to start with explaining some situations that knitters might find themselves wanting to undo their work.
As a not very experienced knitter, I want to guess first. And then I want to learn the actual reasons. So if I were to come in, I know why I want to undo my work.
Yeah.
Because it's ugly and uneven and I'm not good at knitting. Rip it all out.
Yep.
Start over.
That is one reason. Yes, it's ugly.
I bought the wrong yarn and it's not working.
Yeah.
That's the
yeah.
reason. I'm one stitch off and I inadvertently fixed it and it's 18 rows back and I'm really mad about it. And so I want to rip it all out. Is that a good reason?
Yeah. All of these are good
it is?
reasons.
I thought you might say it's the karma of the sweater.
Sometimes the karma of the sweater is pulling it all back and restarting the sweater.
I know. I listened to an episode that talked about the boyfriend sweater as I'm knitting a boyfriend sweater, and I decided to rip it out because I don't want to break up.
Oh. Or maybe you decide you do want to break up, and that's why you rip it out.
And I learned to knit faster.
Yeah.
What are good reasons for a knitter to undo their work?
First of all, embracing the fact that we all do this. Even me, a knitter who's knit for many, many, many years. You learn more the more you screw stuff up and redo things. Don't feel bad at having to undo stuff. So here are some reasons why you might find yourself wanting to undo the work. Number one, and you mentioned this, is you made a, quote, mistake. And you want to go back and change it, especially if this is something that's a lace pattern or a repeating pattern. You might find that it's worth your while to go back and fix that as opposed to just hoping that it works out later.
Yeah.
Unless
Makes
you don't
sense.
care, and then that's fine.
I guess that makes sense.
Another reason that you might want to go back is because you want to redo something to try to do it better or differently.
Is this if my tension is different and it's all wobbly and weird looking?
Yes. Maybe you cast on too tightly and you're like, oh no, this is going to be too tight at my sleeve cuff or sock cuff. Do it again. No problem. Or if a bobble came out weird, like we were talking about in the bobble episode, sometimes blocking doesn't fix that stuff. It's better just to undo it and redo it a little bit better.
Makes sense.
Another reason to undo something is because it doesn't fit well. However you wanted it to fit, it doesn't fit like that anymore. Maybe that's because you bound it off and you didn't try it on or do a gauge and it came out too small.
I want to undo it because I threw it in the washing machine accidentally on hot, and then I threw it in the dryer and it felted.
Oh, there's no undoing that, unfortunately. That's a repurpose opportunity at that point.
I now have fabric.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Fabric that you can't pull out because it is one. I've had this happen. You change body sizes and then the things you made at one point don't fit the way you wanted to anymore. That happens. Sometimes it's retroactive.
That scarf doesn't fit anymore.
I hate it.
Around
I know.
my neck.
Yeah. My neck is just too thin now.
Too big.
Yeah, exactly. So you got a scarf that doesn't fit anymore. You mentioned this next one. It's ugly. Like sometimes stuff just turns out unappealing at the end. You're like, what happened?
But it was so cute on Pinterest.
And sometimes you're like, it was fun to make. But,
Why did I pick this poopy color?
That is a good point. You pick a yarn and you're like, I love it in the skein. And then you knit it up into the thing and you're like,
You know what that would be with me? I would pick like the most delicious purple, and then I'd be like, I look like Barney.
yeah. Or you do the big yellow cardigan and you look like a giant banana. If you're not doing that intentionally, it's a bummer. And
Yeah.
you might be finding yourself pulling it out. The next reason is another that all of these I have done.
So this is from experience.
This is from experience, yes. And that one is you never wear it. You made it and it was great. But for some reason, you just never wear it. Pull it out.
What if you
let it sit
receive a
around.
gift from someone and you never wear it? Can you pull that out, or is that a different thing?
Depends on the person who gave it to you, maybe.
If you see them often and they suddenly see a hat in the same yarn that they made that scarf.
That would be so funny. I don't know. I think maybe like a knitter would kind of be like, all right, I respect that. I don't know. You have to use your
no.
own judgment with that one.
I would tell a lie. I would say, I still have the scarf. I knit a hat to match.
It doesn't fit around my neck anymore. So I got this hat instead.
Because my head is way thinner than my neck.
So thin now. I lost all this head weight and it just all went right to my neck. I hate when that happens.
I like how you say my neck with a
My neck.
apostrophe.
Yeah.
M apostrophe.
Yeah, my neck.
My neck.
Or this also you just mentioned, maybe you're undoing a pre-made item just for the yarn. Like you might.
Wait, I can do that with the sweater I get from Macy's?
Or Goodwill. There's a lot of
Oh.
opportunities to get high quality fiber in sweaters that maybe are ugly. But guess what? If you know how to rip it all apart, you can reap all that yarn. Just give it a soak so it relaxes all of like the stitches that's been worked in so long, and then remake it into something else.
I love it. I love reuse. That's awesome.
Yeah, and it's a nice low cost way of getting, again, like some pretty costly fabrics. So like cashmeres and
Yeah.
silks and things like that. Sometimes you can really find some good stuff.
That's where my idea of washing the sweater comes from. I have a really good friend. She lives in Wisconsin, and she finds cashmere sweaters at Goodwill, and then she washes them in a old-fashioned washing machine in order to felt the fabric on purpose and shrink it. And it becomes this amazing cashmere felted fabric that she can then use to make stuffed animals for kids or patchwork sweaters or all kinds of cool stuff.
Yeah, that is awesome. They're really nice to use in soap, over soap too. And yeah, it's a whole thing.
Yeah.
Like
That's cool.
belted soap covers or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Use your imagination. It's endless possibilities out there. So those are some reasons, and I'm sure not all reasons, that a knitter might choose to undo their work to varying degrees. And now I'm curious, is there ever a situation or a circumstance in like the magical world where you might purposefully make something to undo?
We actually talked about this a little bit with Brandy Williams in our interview from episode, I forget which number, but we'll link it.
The one that's up on your screen right now if you're watching
Yeah.
this on YouTube.
That's right. Where she will think about something that she wants to undo and will crochet a chain,
Mm.
and then she'll yank the chain and it'll just come undone, and it's a release or an undoing of something.
Yeah.
And I think that is a super powerful way to create something to then undo it. And that is actually using fiber in crocheting something. It's very cool. Knitting doesn't quite undo like that. I guess you can rip it out.
You could do like a cast on in a similar fashion, and then pull it off the needles and pull it like that. That would be similar, but there is something about that crochet chain.
Yeah, a crochet chain is a really simple thing to do. And of course, you can do it with the color of your yarn, matching your intention. You can anoint the yarn with a little bit of a particular oil and then undo it. What are undoing bells? They are something that you would intentionally want to release. And a lot of times that can be for healing. Something that you want to break apart, an addiction or an obsession. Maybe you want to undo the binds of a relationship. Maybe there's a toxic relationship with an in-law or a relative or a friend or someone at work. You can do things like that in that realm. So even if you are undoing a piece of work that you made, if you made the Traveler's Talisman, you were working on that, and then you realized, I need to rip this out. I need to tink this. You might want to think about how can I rip this out with the same intention I had in knitting it? And what would that intention be? Perhaps it would be based on your rationale. It's ugly. Okay. Is it ugly because of the color choice? Is it ugly because of the wobbliness of the tension or something like that? So then you can think about, I want my travel to be beautiful. And so I am
Mm.
not going to stand for ugly travel. I'm not going to be invisible by occurring ugly to people.
Yeah, I
Right.
can't leave
So,
this mistake in here that I notice because then people will notice me, and that's the whole
yeah.
opposite point of this
Right.
thing. Yes.
So there can be some intention with, I'm going to undo the intention that I knit in here. Or perhaps you were knitting a cap for someone who has cancer, but you realize, gosh, the whole time I was knitting this cap, I put my fear of their potential death,
Mm.
of their possible death. So you realize that and you say, I need to knit a cap for them that is with the intention of love and hope and
Mm.
something else. So that's a reason that you might want to intentionally redo something. Those are the metaphysical reasons, not just the physical reasons on why you might want to rip something out. In a magical sense, a lot of times we do a spell or we do a ritual, and it is creating something to take the place of something that was there before. So there's not often a deconstruction element to doing ritual or doing spells. Oftentimes the spell just doesn't work if it's not aligned, or you just need to put something else in its place. So it's more like the energy moves out and moves away from you, and you put something new in its place. There's not a lot of undoing, although you could undo stuff with some of the techniques that we talked about with the yarn, or you can have an effigy of something and you can burn it. You can write something on a piece of paper about your new intention and you can burn that, or you can burn a photograph or something like that if you're intentionally trying to get away from a toxic situation with a person. So these are things that can be considered maybe undoing. What do you think, Katie?
Those are all great suggestions. When you were talking earlier, I thought, oh, yeah, this is like a perfect time to do like a cord cutting, which isn't exactly undoing a working necessarily. Although, if you made a cord with a specific energy and then used the 2 candle method to burn it and destroy the cord in that way, but that's just one example.
The other way that you could look at the crochet chain and pulling that out and straightening it is something that I think is really powerful. I would personally suggest it over cord cutting is cord healing. So
Yeah.
you can crochet a chain thinking about, gosh, this relationship is very burdened. There's lots of baggage. There's lots of complications. I'm walking on eggshells with them, or they elicit an emotion in me. And there's all this bad sort of blood between us as you're crocheting that chain. Then you can take it and say, my intention is to heal this connection. I'm always going to have the connection with that person because I have known them, and all humans have some kind of connection with each other. But I want to neutralize it, make it a non-issue, and I just don't want to think about it. And the reason I'm thinking about it is because it's all complicated and wound up. And so you think about the clarity you put in your mind. This is no longer an important or significant thing to me. And then you just go pop. What a powerful magical act.
That is a really great point. And in most cases, you are not probably going to be able to completely cut a person out of your life, especially if that person was significantly in your life for an amount of time, reasons, energy exchange. That stuff is long lasting. So I think you're right in that healing the line and the cords, the connections is the better thing to do.
This book talks about that. We interviewed Michelle Welch previously, and her book, The Magic of Connection, talks about healing that cord. So I wanted to pull that book out.
We should definitely have her on again because, as you might recall, that was the episode that I was stuck in Florida during the hurricane.
Oh,
So
I
I
forgot.
missed it and I didn't get to ask my alien questions, and I think about it all the time.
All right, we
Well,
can have her back.
yay. All
I'm
right,
going to
next
see
season.
her tomorrow because I'm
Oh,
flying to New York City tomorrow.
well, there you go. Tell her I'm thinking about her. One more thing that I was thinking about, and you just reminded me about it in terms of healing. This would also be a good exercise to do a healing of cords if you have a yarn that's all knotted up somewhere, like something happened to it and you need to take the time to like hand wind it and undo the tangles, you can undo any yarn pretty much if you have the patience. That is one thing that you could do symbolically to be like, okay, I'm literally undoing these knots, this jumble, this tied up bullshit. And then that gives you the time to really have a meditative time to think about it, straighten everything out. And maybe by the time you're done, you come to a new resolution about the thing.
Yeah, I think about if I want to clean my home, but I'm just overwhelmed, maybe start with some yarn, because undoing those knots can have a sense of accomplishment and get you started. And then you might be in the cleaning mode. So
Yeah.
that's a way of undoing like a mess.
Yeah, use that motivation or that momentum.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love that we can make mundane activities into magical activities if we think about what could be a good intention while I'm doing this. While we're cleaning our house, we can put an intention of, I'm cleaning up my friendships, or I'm cleaning up my calendar. You can put that intention in when you're doing something that's easy for you to organize. You can put that intention into something that's challenging you to organize.
Awesome. Let's take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll talk even more about pulling out yarns and reasons that we might do it and how to use them magically, more intentionally. We'll be right back. Hey there, fellow knitters. Are you ready to enchant your stitches with the power of color? Discover how in my online workshop, Knit with Color Magic. In Knit with Color Magic, you'll learn how to use color as an intention-setting tool. This self-paced workshop will teach you everything you need to know to get out of your color ruts and conjure bewitching combinations while adding intention. You'll also learn how to build a strong and simple intention, how to translate intention into colors, and to develop a personal grimoire of color correspondences. With a simple shift in your mindset and some personal reflection, you can start knitting color magic into any project. And for a limited time, listeners of the show can save $20 off this workshop by using the code COLOR20 at checkout. Find all the information in the description or visit lightfromlantern.com/knit with color magic to learn more. Merry make!
Hey, Katie, you took my Intro to Palmistry course.
Sure did.
Why would you recommend it? Or would you?
Well, first of all, absolutely I would. Maybe I'm biased, but I don't think so. It, for me, was very empowering. It shined some light on how I tend to be personally self-critical, and you were really able to help me break that habit by looking at patterns as not things that are wrong, but just things that you can work with. The minuses became pluses, and I think that was something that really was very empowering.
I'm really glad you said that. This is one of my major ideas, is palmistry and tarot and other things reveal patterns, not predictions. And to be able to also look at your own hand and transform and reframe your perceived character defects or your self-critical analysis and look at that as a tool that's super useful and can be very positive for you, I think that's an amazing thing to do.
And having it apply to a practice that is traditionally fairly fatalistic, your approach of the Divine Hand method is so positive. I would recommend it to anyone who's interested in palmistry to any degree.
Totally.
And where can they go to find out more?
You, listener, can learn the Divine Hand Palmistry method at your own pace with my brand new palmistry course. Go to introtopalmistry.com to read more information about it and to sign up.
Hey Knit-a-Spell fans, we are back on Patreon with a new dedicated page. For just $5 a month, you'll gain access to behind-the-scenes posts, exclusive downloads and resources, and you'll be able to participate in influential polls with fellow fans. You'll also receive a free, exclusive Knit-a-Spell sticker sent right to your door after being a subscriber for 3 consecutive months. It's a great way to support the podcast, and Jim and I are so appreciative to everyone who's joined so far. To learn more and sign up, visit patreon.com/knit-a-spell. See you there. Welcome back. I'm going to lay out a descending order of knitting undoingness. That's the technical term. And then we can brainstorm on what some magical associations might be as to why we're using it.
Oh, I love this. These are the physical methods of actually undoing your work.
That's right. And this is specifically knitting. I'm sure there's some shared terms. If you have other terms that we didn't cover that you have suggestions for, you know what to do. Just leave us a comment at the end or at the video, and we'd love to hear from you. Let's begin with what is usually the smallest amount of removing work, and that is tinking. So that is the knit backwards.
Oh, I see. So tinking generally has the perception that you're going to keep working on the piece. You just need to tink back to the mistake and then knit. Is that how
Yes.
you would say it? Is that how I would use that in a sentence?
Yep. You usually go, it's one stitch at a time that you're doing. And typically, because it's a slow process to quote tink or unknit, people will only do it over like a short span. Otherwise, they might use a different method.
I guess I'm thinking in my head crochet, which is where you just pull the thread and it undoes itself. But when you actually have to undo stuff, do you have to use the needles?
Usually, it involves the needles. Otherwise, it would be our next one, which is pulling back.
Oh, I see. So tinking is going back with the needles 4 stitches because I forgot to do my color work or I forgot to switch or something.
This bobble over here that I just did, I don't like the way that looks now that I'm going away from it. Now I got to go back and do it. Or I forgot to slip a stitch, or you might go a few rows back even, depending on the size of the project. But typically this isn't something that you would do to remove half of the work unless it's a pretty small piece.
Okay, this is good to know. So magically, this seems or feels more like a very careful self-evaluation or evaluation. I can think about time magic, like we actually go back and redefine something that's happened in the past or sending energy to someone. Since the metaphysical energy isn't bound by time or space, you can actually send positive energy to someone even after an event has happened. And it can help influence and change the past. It's a very deep topic. We could do a whole episode on it.
Oh, I love that kind of stuff. Just like a immediate reflection tool kind of a thing. What just happened? Let's look at it again. Let's look at this thing again. Examine, re-examine.
Could work psychologically and metaphysically.
I like it. All right, then next we have pulling back. And typically, and fight me knitters about this, if you're pulling back, usually this is you're removing the needles from the project and you're just pulling the yarn and it's coming in the circle or back and forth, however you made it, and you don't have the needles in there. And then you would thread the needles back in to begin working once you've reached the point that you're satisfied pulling back to.
You can put the needles back in if you rip it out like to the exact edge.
Or in the middle, there's all the loops. And so you just put them back on the loops. Some of them might have slipped down a little bit, but you can fix that usually.
Wow, that's so cool.
It's a lot faster than tinking. However, it does have an element of danger to it that less experienced knitters may avoid this because it puts all the stitches out there to just do their thing. So sometimes a knitter might choose to tink because it's more secure. All the stitches are always on there, as opposed to pulling back where a little more free flowing.
So you can go further than you want.
They can end up going back like beyond the rows that you're actually pulling, especially if it's a slipperier fiber. I would say it's more for you want to go back.
I really hate the color of the stripe that I put into the sweater. Now that I have this much of it, it doesn't really work. So I would pull that back to the previous color.
Right.
Is that an example?
Yep. Or maybe you've done a whole section of lace and you're like, oh no, I wondered why this wasn't looking right. And now I realize it's because I read the symbol wrong and I've been doing it backwards, or I forgot to do it all this whole time, or I didn't realize there was a knit 3 in between here. And so you're like, oh no. Okay, now you have to just pull it all back, pull it all back.
Got it.
Yeah. So that would be a case where you don't entirely remove it, but you do have a larger piece that you're like in a hurry to remove. And that can also be very reflection based. I guess all of these are probably reflection based.
I think you're pulling out a whole section. So the magical sort of correlation with that might be looking at not just particular things, but like this whole week or this whole section or this whole issue or this entire thing, I'm going to redo. And you can put some energy into that. I'm going to redo the way that my about page on my website is, or I'm going to redo a whole section of something in my life or something that's important to me. And I just want to put different energy into that. And when you're re-knitting it, you could say, all right, I've cleared the space. Now I'm going to put my new intention into the space.
Oh, yeah. It could be as easy as this is the first time you're doing a cable or lace or a technique. And you do that section and you're like, oh, okay, now I learned. It doesn't look great. I would like to redo it now that I have this information. And so you undo it with the intention to do it with your new advanced skill. So
I
it's not
think
really undoing at all. It's doing
I think
better.
honoring the pullback, honoring the
Yeah.
tank is really important because it was a mistake and we can totally be mad at ourselves for that. It's also not hard to then translate that into learning. We won't make that mistake as easily if we acknowledge the learning that's there and have a little humility and say, instead of I knew better, we can say, oh, yeah, that's right. I made this mistake. I need to remember that. And this is something for me to learn and do differently next time.
That's great life advice. That's how you maintain your mental garden, right? You just learn to figure out what the weeds are sooner.
Yeah.
And maybe they're not weeds at all. You just learn to work with them.
If you wait till they flower, you might find out.
There you go.
So we were tinking and then pulling back. What is this frogging? I think of the video game when I was a kid, Frogger.
Yes, it's not much like that. This is when you decide you're ready to completely undo your project. You have no intention to restart. You are frogging your project. And why is it called frogging, Jim?
Yeah, why?
You rip it, rip it out. Knitters, clever, aren't we? So
You
funny.
guys are a trip.
So that's why it is called frogging. If you're totally ripping it out, that's a frog.
So if I were to say, hey, Katie, what happened to that pink and orange and yellow blanket you were making last week?
That project, it's dead to me now because I frogged it all out. The yarn wasn't a good match. I hated how the color was.
So you frogged it.
I frogged it. I'm going to use that yarn for something else.
I never really know how people use the word.
I had this work in progress in a bag for 6 years. I just
Frogged.
looked at it. Oh my God, I don't have this taste level anymore. I'm frogging it. I'm going to use that yarn for something else.
Got it.
Yes.
So no intention to restart that. So this reminds me of what we were talking about before the break of really using a chain of crochet to be done with something. You're still going to keep the yarn, but you're going to completely redo something. This might be associated with the intention of radical transformation, with just completely starting something new. What I love about knitting is that you can't really start something new with the yarn without ripping it out first. And sometimes in magic, we have a tendency not to clear our space or to make an evaluation of what's not working. What am I actually undoing? Instead, we just want the escapist idea of moving to the next thing. In this case, we can learn from knitting and from fiber arts. If you want to reuse that yarn or reuse those particular needles that are currently involved in it, you have to take some time to undo what's there. That's huge. That's an amazing lesson that knitting can give to people who want to practice magic or metaphysical work.
Yes. And it's very forgiving. One of the best things about knitting and crocheting with yarn is that you can undo it pretty easily in most cases for whatever reason that you might want.
And experience the freedom that you have and the renewed
Absolutely.
inspiration. This pink and yellow and orange piece is no longer inspiring me, but that pink is perfect with these other colors for this other thing that I have in mind. And so you can have that sense of freedom. And this is the same in magic. The relationship that I have with my, colleague at work is not working. I want to undo all of the things that I have made up about them or thought about them. And now I'm going to approach it in a whole new way. That would be a great magical intent to go along with that.
That is such a good idea. Yes, you just vent it all into this piece. Oh, stuff I hate about this person, annoying, whatever. And then you just remove it all, release. Okay, it's fine, whatever. You be you, I'll be me. Okay, we're done. And then you knit it back with like how you want to appear in this situation, and thereby just letting that person do what they want and you're not responsible for it.
Yep.
Relaxed like the stitches will be once you've reknit
Right.
it and blocked it.
When you frog something,
Mhm.
does the yarn retain the squiggle and the shape that they were in?
Usually depends on the fiber. Different fibers will hold it more than others. And anything that's been knit for a longer period of time will usually have it. The longer it stays in that shape, the longer it will want to stay like that.
So I think about that connection with the metaphysical and the psychological stuff. It doesn't matter if I have a good or bad or neutral relationship with someone, it's going to want to tend to stay that way based on how long I've been in that dynamic with them. So
Yeah.
there's some really good sort of one-to-one metaphorical imagery or experience with frogging something, seeing how the yarn still wants to go back into those pattern shapes, and maybe rewinding, rebinding.
Yeah, block it all evenly again, just cleanse
Sure.
it. Yeah, great
So they're
idea.
even rolling it on a skein again or balling it.
Totally.
So
Yeah.
as you do that, you could also be thinking about the transformation that you want and the pattern. I have a pattern of eating sweets at 3 p.m. and I'm going to change that. And my intention is going to go with, as I'm frogging this and as I'm moistening the yarn and balling it up, it's a way to get mold.
Wait for it to dry first.
Figuring out how to take those stitches out of the yarn would be a great thing to do.
All right, we have a couple of more. The next one I wanted to talk about isn't so much an undoing of knitting, but it is.
So is this under Beyond the Tink?
Yeah, beyond the tank. It is removing the knitting. It's removing the entire thing. Let's say instead of undoing the thing, like there's nothing wrong with it. You just don't want it anymore. You could donate it. You could gift it. You could otherwise give it away as a work in progress. It doesn't even have to be done. Sometimes other knitters like puzzling pieces together of something that you haven't finished, but they might like to finish. There's lots of opportunities if you just don't want it in your life anymore and you don't want the yarn, just get it out of there, remove.
To me, the metaphysical association with that is very similar. What do you want to get rid of in your life? What do you want to purge? What do you want to simplify? A lot of times I think that we have a lot of mental or emotional or spiritual baggage that we can be free of. When we give energetic things or when we do energy work and we put the energy into the earth, it is not polluting the earth because the earth transforms it and neutralizes it. So we don't have to think about littering or polluting the earth with our energy because our energy is just our energy. That's something that could be really cool is I want to donate or give this energy of my migraine or the energy of something that isn't working, and I'm going to channel that and ground that down into the earth. Because it's not negative to the earth, it's only negative to me.
And you could see removing the item as a positive too. Like removal doesn't always mean like you had horrible ties to this thing and now it's got to go. It could be like, okay, it's done the work it needs to do for me. It's offered me comfort and warmth and whatever.
Yep.
And now it's time to remove it because I'm done with it for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And it's going to help someone else.
Yeah, this brown, orange, and white Afghan that was crocheted by some person I don't even know, that can go to Goodwill.
The final reason or way that I want to talk about undoing knitting is intentionally destroying something. So we talked about this before, making it with the intention of destroying it. It's probably the most obvious in terms of doing magic that is a release, but it could also be like really empowering in terms of if you feel like you have no power over something, this is your way of putting all of it into a thing and then having the transformational power over it.
Yeah, this is the equivalent of going to a rage room and smashing vases and mugs in order to get out your aggression. And I think about intentionally destroying as can be super healthy as a way to process strong emotions, though depends how you do it, if you're actually ripping it. But this is the intentionally destroying and without the intention to reuse any of the materials. I can imagine that people might think that even the materials have been sullied by whatever happened. So I don't even want anyone else to use this yarn again.
Right.
That's pretty intense, but that can be super powerful. It can be the needed release, the needed destruction of something so that you can make a clearing for the reconstruction to return.
Absolutely. Sometimes you just got to get it out. It's writing a letter to a person and then never sending it. It's just the release because we all need ways to get out reactionary behaviors, and you don't want to take that stuff out on other people. And as knitters, we have this whole practice as a way to put energy into something productively that we choose what to do with it after that, whether it's keep it, reuse it, or burn it to the ground.
Yes, that's right.
Our choice.
This has been super cool. I'm really glad to learn the term tink and
Yes.
frog because you rip it out.
That's right.
Did we turn undoing things on its ear for you, oh listener? Do you have ideas around what metaphysical intent is or can be associated with tinking?
We want to know. Leave us a comment here on YouTube or send us an email at knitaspellpodcast@gmail.com, or even better, join us on Patreon. It's just $5 a month. Great way to support us, and we love chatting with y'all over there.
I'm excited for next week. We are going to be talking about lace stitches with spells. Ooh.
Right.
I have so much to learn about lace and how it's made and all that. So I'm excited.
It's a whole other story. It'll make sense next week.
You are so funny. I can't wait.
Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you all next week.
Bye, all.
Thanks for
listening.
If you enjoyed the show, consider sharing it with a friend, leaving a review on iTunes and Spotify, or following Knit a Spell on Instagram.
You can also subscribe to the Light from Lantern YouTube channel to enjoy full episodes of Knit a Spell and see our happy faces.
You can also learn more about readings, classes, and events going on with your favorite maker of magic, James Devine, by visiting thedivinehand.com and subscribing to his newsletter. Then follow Jim's fun and interactive Instagram account at DivineHandJim.
Keep up with Katie, the magical maker, by subscribing to her newsletter at lightfromlantern.com. You'll receive a free knitting pattern as a thank you gift. Then follow Katie on Instagram at lightfromlantern for even more magical making tips. See you next week.